Your business savings account or emergency fund is good for 2 things, is based around 3 things, and there are 4 things you should do to get it up to the right amount. So let's talk about all of those things plus what that right amount is. I'm Tara Wagner, breakthrough coach and lifelong entrepreneur. I help other entrepreneurs use a holistic approach to business so they can create profits they can depend on without burning themselves out. If that sounds like your jam, be sure to check out my free training on how you can do the same. Your business savings account is a separate account at your bank, separate than your taxes, separate than your business expenses, where you stockpile cold, hard cash that you can liquidate at a moment's notice. This should be used for 2 things. Number 1 is a rainy day fund, your actual emergencies that you couldn't or didn't plan for. So this could be anything from natural disasters to pandemics. It could include things like fire or theft. It might include accidents or medical issues that keep you from working, keep you from being able to earn more money. It could also include lawsuits, a loss of inventory, or even something like a loss of ad accounts if your business is relying on those to bring in new customers or clients. The second thing this business savings account is good for is additional savings above and beyond your emergency savings, just to be used for great opportunities that might come along. So the main question that everybody asks is, how much business savings should I have set aside for emergencies? And this is based on 3 things. Number 1 is your unique business expenses. What's the cost of operating your business should you not have revenue coming in? This means you might not include things like your cost of goods sold because you're not going to be necessarily selling them. However, some people do like to include that. So we'll talk about how to figure that in with a formula in just a second. Number 2 is your industry volatility or your own unique business volatility. If there are a lot of things going on or could potentially be going on, even if it's just personal things that make it very volatile, very difficult to go out and earn money, those things should be taken into account. And then number 3 is good old peace of mind. What's your barometer for security? What's gonna make you feel good if you have that amount in the bank? Comment below and let me know on a scale of 1 to 10, how comfortable are you taking risks? This is gonna tell you how much savings you might wanna have set aside. Okay, so I've written this into a formula. It looks scarier and more complicated than it actually is, but if we go through this step by step, and if you grab a piece of paper and do this with me, it's gonna be much easier than it seems. So this actual formula to figure out how much money you need to have set aside in your business savings account is X times V plus P plus O. And what that is expenses times volatility plus peace of mind plus opportunities. This is your bonus number down here. So let me show you how you figure this out. This is going to be really easy. The first thing you need to know though is, what are your actual business expenses? Now, when you figure out your business expenses, if you don't have a budget, if you don't know exactly what your expenses are yet, what you can do is just pull up your bank documents, your credit card documents, add things up. But what you're probably going to want to do from that is subtract your COGS. These are your cost of goods sold. Now, not everybody will subtract COGS. If you don't know what COGS are, you probably don't have them in your business. Not every business does. These are the things that you will only incur if you have an actual job or something sold, right? This is the cost of the goods sold. So this could be something like your subcontractors, this could be materials, things like that. And for a lot of businesses, that's worked into the price of the job. And so you don't actually need to have that saved, because when you have money coming in, like a deposit coming in for the job, you'll have the money for it. However, some businesses need to have this ahead of time. So for instance, if you make clothing, you need to have your fabric and your things like that. So you may want to leave this in here. That's up to you, okay? What you're wanting to do is figure out your expenses, potentially remove the COGS from those expenses, and Remove your profit or salary? Maybe. Now, should you include profit or salary in your business expenses? That depends on whether or not you have a personal emergency fund set aside. So what we do in our business is we have our own personal emergency fund. If we needed to stop paying ourselves, we would have money set aside in a personal emergency account to be able to pay our own salary, to pay our own personal bills, our mortgage, our groceries, things like that. Because of that, I don't actually save this in my emergency fund, my business emergency fund. If you don't have that, or you want to be able to continue to pay yourself, you may want to include this as well. So we want your total number of expenses, and just for the sake of math, I'm gonna make this really easy, and let's pretend that your business expenses per month are $1,000. Wouldn't that be nice? Okay, so you've got $1,000, maybe not including COGS and profit. We're gonna assume not if it's $1,000. What you then wanna do is times this by 3, okay? So whatever your business expenses are, you're gonna times it by 3, and this is gonna give you the first number that you need to know, okay? So this is a really important number. I want you to circle this one, or do whatever you have to do to this one, because we're gonna use this later on in just a minute. So this is the first savings goal that you have. Now what we wanna do for step 2 is we wanna figure out volatility. What's the volatility in your industry or your business? If you don't really have volatility, maybe you're just gonna times this by 1, right? Which means you're not gonna do anything. If you've got a little bit of volatility, maybe you're gonna times it by 1.5. If you've got a lot of volatility, maybe you're gonna times it by 4, or somewhere in between. You get to decide based on how volatile your industry is, maybe how seasonal it is, as to how much money you actually want to have additional to this. So let's pretend that you're in a really volatile business and we want to times this by 4, right? So this is going to give us a bigger savings goal of $12,000, right? This is your long-term emergency fund. This means if you didn't have revenue for up to a year, right, you would be able to continue to pay your business expenses while you're hustling your butt off trying to figure out how to fix that revenue problem, correct? So that's step number 2. This is your big number, but you're not done with this number yet. The next thing you want to do is look at step 3, which is peace of mind. Peace of mind means when you look at this number, whatever your step 2 number is, does that give you peace of mind, right? Does it feel like enough money set aside? Does it feel like too much money set aside? Does it not feel like enough and you want more set aside? What you're gonna do with this is based on your peace of mind, based on how comfortable this number makes you feel, you're going to either minus or add 20% to it, right? So let's say you were comfortable with this number, you would do nothing here. You would just take this number and move it down here. If this felt like too much, you would take 20% out of it, which would be $2,400, which would be, you would now be at $960 or $9,600, right? If it didn't feel like enough, you would add 20% to it, which would be $14,400. Did I do that right? And so you decide here what this looks like based on your own personal peace of mind, your own sense of security. Everybody's a little bit different. Some people are more risk averse, some people are more risk oriented. So you decide, will I feel comfortable with this amount of money in the bank? Now, obviously your number might be a lot more than this. So you might be looking at something like $100,000 that's just gonna sit there, barely collect any interest and not do anything. And that might make you feel really uncomfortable. So maybe you're gonna decide, okay, my number is actually gonna be less than that, or it's gonna be $100,000, but I'm gonna put 50 of it into a liquid emergency savings account, and I'm gonna put 50 of it into something like a money market account, right? There's a little trick for you. We're gonna talk more about whether or not you should invest it, but keep that part in mind. If you've got a big number, you've got flexibility. Now, let's pretend that you did drop it down to the 9,600. I hope this math is right. I did it on the top of my head. Now what you want to do is step 4. You want to add 10 to 20% just for opportunities. Now you get to decide what that number is, right? This is just a starting number. If you know that the opportunities that come along for you are, 40% of this number or 5% of this number, again, it's going to depend on what this number is. But in general, you want to look at 10 to 20% added on to this right here. So let's just say Let's say we're just gonna add $1,000 on, because I'm not gonna add up $960 to that number. So we're just gonna move this up to almost $11,000, right? This is your final number down here. So we have your step 1 number right here, and we have your step 4 number right there. Now, what I'm gonna talk about next is which you need to focus on, which comes first, and how to increase your savings in a way that is going to be fast and effective, but also sustainable as well. So let's talk about that next. So now let's talk about a couple strategies to help you get to those savings numbers as quickly and as painlessly as possible. The first thing that it's really important to do is create an actual budget. This is gonna allow you to rein in any sneaky spending and funnel every last dollar into your emergency fund that you possibly can. I have 2 videos on how to make a budget. One of them is the simplified 5-minute budget. This one's okay, but it's probably not what you're gonna want when it comes to being able to save as many dollars as you can. The one you're probably gonna want is this one, how to create a business budget using a software like YNAB. This is gonna really show you how to be able to cut those expenses, track every last dollar, and funnel everything you can into your business savings account. Now, to reach those savings numbers, we're gonna do this Dave Ramsey style with some baby steps. The first thing that I want you to do is set a 30-day goal to reach $1,000 in your business savings account. Now, why a 30-day goal? Because we wanna get there as quickly as possible, and we wanna get creative to do it. Doesn't matter where this money's coming from, just matters where it's gonna end up. So what I want you to do with this is to get creative. This money can come from things you do inside your business, like promotions or sales that you're gonna run just for this purpose. It could be things that you do outside of your business, like selling stuff around the house, just to funnel that money and get that first $1,000 saved. This first $1,000 is crucial. This is what's gonna help you start to get ahead, because most little emergencies that come up are little. They're things that can be paid for in under $1,000. Now we're gonna do something a little bit different for your 3-month number that you figured out in that formula. We're gonna set a target date for this, and we're gonna break it down into a manageable monthly bill. Now when I say manageable, this shouldn't really cause you pain to be able to reach this number every month, but it is okay if it stretches you, as long as you're comfortable, you're in a season of business, or you're just feeling ready for that stretch, that's okay. So let's say, for instance, your 3-month number was $10,000. You wanted to get this in 10 months. You were gonna do $1,000 a month. Is that $1,000 manageable for you? Could you swing that on a regular monthly basis? If not, change your target date so that you can get a more manageable number. You can always do something like $500 is your target number, and you can blow that out of the water any month you have a good month. But this is gonna ensure that this process is not stressful and that you can continue to actually move towards it and not give up out of frustration. The next thing that you need to do is automate that transfer. Whatever that manageable monthly bill amount is, you need to set it up so that it's an automatic transfer from your business checking to your business savings every single month. We're doing this because we want to get it out of our brain that this is optional. We want to treat this like a bill, and if it's going to happen automatically, we're going to do our best to make sure that we have the money set aside for it. So you figure out what day of the month this needs to happen. You figure out what you need to do to get that money into your account so that it can make that transfer, and then you take it off your mind that this is optional. Treat it like a bill, like a debt you have to pay so that you can get to that number faster. Now, some tips to help you get there faster. Number 1, use that budget to help you cut some expenses. What are the things that you're currently paying for that are nice to haves but aren't actually necessary to running your business? At least not right now. You can put them off until you get to that 3-month number. This could be anything from trainings that you want to take, events that you want to go to maybe software that you need to change around or decrease so that you can funnel a little bit extra towards that bill. Next, take a pay cut. Think of this like paying your future self. Your future self is gonna be so happy when an emergency hits that they don't have to take a pay cut out of force. They took one now out of choice. Doing it because you choose to do it is always gonna feel better than doing it because you have to do it. Next, anytime you have a windfall, anytime you have a really good month in your business, do not take that as profit. Take some money aside for taxes and put all of the rest of it into your business savings account, just for that peace of mind, just so that you can get to that number faster. And lastly, what can you do to earn more money, right? We can only decrease our expenses so much. We can only save so much. We gotta out-earn ourselves. So what can you do to increase the revenue in your business? That's the primary focus of all the other things you should be looking at. Everything else, taking a pay cut, decreasing expenses, those are things that you do one time at the beginning of this, and then your primary goal is what can I do to earn more money so that I can stockpile it for savings later. I also want to mention it might be time to look at whether or not you need to increase your prices. Just because you want to earn more money doesn't mean you should increase your prices. So what I would actually do is check out this playlist on pricing to get a better idea of whether or not it's the right time for you. Now, once you do this, you hit your 3-month goal, we're going to take that bigger savings goal and we're going to do basically the same thing, but we're going to do it in a little bit less of a stressful way. We want to make sure that this is sustainable. So we want to do the same thing, set a target date, and set a manageable monthly bill. But now you want that manageable monthly bill to be a little bit smaller, so it's not so much of a stress on you. You can start taking a salary again. You can stop feeling like you're pinched just to get money saved. Now, this doesn't have to be something you do. If you want to keep going gung-ho for a while, you absolutely can. But my goal here is to make sure that you can sustain this monthly bill and that it's not something that's making you feel so deprived now that you end up blowing through money just because of a knee-jerk reaction, right? If we deprive ourselves too long of the fruits of our labor, we end up going on a spending spree over here. I don't want that to happen. So I want you to look at this. I have my 3-month set aside. I need to still get up to that bigger number, but what's a more manageable, sustainable way for me to do so? And then you're gonna do the same things. You're gonna automate that number. You're gonna focus on increasing your revenue, and you're gonna focus on just saving as much as you can that is comfortable now to do so, that doesn't feel like so much of a pinch. The final question that we all ask is, what should I do with this money? Should I invest it into a money market, CDs, even the stock market? And the answer to this is nope. I know it's gonna hurt to have this big chunk of money just sitting there not earning anything. And if you can get a high yield savings account, definitely do so. However, those change all the time, and chasing savings accounts is generally not worth your time. What's worth your time is making more money, right? So don't worry about this. This savings account, your emergency fund, needs to stay liquid. You need to be able to tap into it at a moment's notice. So I even like to have this at a local bank or the same bank that I have my business expenses at, so that I can transfer back in should I need to. It needs to be liquid. It needs to be easy to get to. It needs to be fast to get to. There shouldn't be any delay. There shouldn't be any penalties for taking it out. This is your emergency fund. It's not going to be earning you anything. It's going to be giving you peace of mind and saving your butt down the road. That's the real investment here. Again, I don't want you to stress yourself out about trying to save. What I really want you to be focusing on is, what can I do to earn? What can I do to increase my business revenue to get this savings up to where I want it to be? As always, if you need help figuring out how to increase your business profits so that you can do things like build your business savings account, I highly recommend you check out my Healthy Hustle Roadmap. My free class, How to Use a Holistic Approach to Create a Profitable Business Without Burning Yourself Out, will teach you the 3 mistakes small business owners are making and introduce you to the strategies I teach that will help you to create a profitable business you can rely on in under 40 hours a week. You can find the link to the free class in the description below. Be sure to also give me a fist bump in the comments if you made it to the end of this one, and let me know your biggest takeaway. Give this video a thumbs up if you found it helpful, and be sure to check out my next video on the disadvantages of budgeting. Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about that. I love budgeting, but we gotta talk about it. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.